Critical rounds.
Your squad mates redeploying. Well done.
I'm not the enemy. Moving this way. Flanking here.
A lot of stuff
Appreciate
that
you.
happens to you, you can't really affect, but you can change how you respond and how you. Okay, so I'm curious, what books that you?
Up top, up top, up top. They coming up. They're pushing from top, guys.
They got in church together and everything. It's like, what books do you lean on, and what maybe you recommend?
It changes, right? Like when I was in the thick of it, the books that I would say really helped me more than anything else are When Things Fall Apart by Pima Chopra. That one, I mean, I listened to that on audio tape for hours a day. And I'd get to the end and I would start it back over again. Another one is called Zen and the Art of Happiness. And it sort of posits the idea that everything that happens to you is exactly what is supposed to happen to you. You might not see that in the moment, but you will. It's kind of like that story of the Chinese farmer, right? He's out in the field with his son, plowing the field with a horse. The horse breaks loose from the plow and runs away.
Yeah.
The son looks at the father and goes, "This is the worst thing that ever happened to us." And the father goes, "We'll see." The next day, the horse comes back and it's got 2 wild horses with it. The son looks at the horses and goes, "We now have 3 horses. This is the best thing that ever happened to us." And the dad goes, "We'll see." The next day, the son is trying to break one of the horses in training and is on top of the horse, and the horse kicks him off. The son falls and breaks his leg. The son goes, "I can't help you in the field anymore. This is the worst thing that is ever going to happen to us." The dad goes, "We'll see." The next day, a representative from the Chinese military comes and says, "We have a conscription notice. Every single able-bodied man has to come with us and go fight in a war." They all go fight in a war, and everybody dies. So it's like, how do you know what is the best thing that's going to happen to you? How do you know what's
Great
the worst?
story.
We don't have a sense of perspective. We're ants on a Mobius strip, right? An ant on a Mobius strip thinks that it's just walking on a flat surface. It doesn't realize that there's got these twists and turns and loops. We don't know.
What is a Mobius strip?
A Mobius strip is basically a loop where you cut it, put a twist, and then put it back together. So as you travel along the surface of the Mobius strip, you don't realize it, but you're actually doing all these twists, and it's a much more complicated journey. It's like the Flatlander, like you're a 2-dimensional creature in a 3-dimensional world. You don't know. You don't know what's the best and what's the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
It's just your response to things. You know, it goes back to sort of like the Buddhist adage of, you know, nothing is good or bad, only thinking that makes it so.
Right.
The other one is a book by John Ronson, and it's called So You've Been Publicly Shamed.
Yeah.
And he goes through the history of what public shaming was and why it was an essential part of keeping communities healthy.
Okay.
Because if someone's acting out in a small community, you shame that person to stop the behavior. The debtor's stocks, debtor's prison, the scarlet letter, all of those things, right? You publicly shame this person to keep everybody else in line. But we don't live in these small communities anymore, but public shaming has just now gotten global, right?
Yeah.
And the idea with shame is that, I mean, I don't know the way the book, but basically he follows,
I read, but I'm not going to read that book, so you feel free to give it
he
a...
follows like 4 or 5 people who have all been very publicly shamed. And he follows what and he sort of says, this is what their life was like before. This is what happened in their public shaming, and this is what their life looked like afterwards. And each of the people reacted to their public shaming very differently. And what he sort of posits in his book is that shame only works if you...
Yo, bind us, mark them.
And I heard it explained this way. Shame is not a serviceable emotion.
Right.
Feeling shame doesn't actually do anything to make you better. It doesn't do anything to make the world better. It's just internalizing all of this pain that you're metastasizing through your body. That's not going to help you at all. So shame is not a serviceable emotion. Guilt is very serviceable. Guilt says, I did something wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I'm going to learn from this. Shame says, I am a bad person.
Right.
So if you internalize the shame that people are putting on you, it'll wreck your life. It'll drag you down. And it's also not going to help in any serviceable way. So why not shed the idea of shame and accept the idea of guilt? I did something wrong. I had behaviors that were not acceptable, that were not beneficial, that were not healthy. And I paid a price. Was the price that I paid disproportionate to my behaviors? I think so. But does that change the fact that my behaviors were bad and I have to take accountability for that? No. So I take accountability for my mistakes. I feel guilty about my behavior, but that I can use as fuel to become a better person.
Yeah. Well, I know that some things that you did were really dumb, and you're, man, talk about someone who sends some crazy texts. Get Zooks. That is such an understatement. But I also know I have firsthand accounts of truth. I also have what I know you to be that I consider to be the truth against some of these accusations or some of these things. So my question is, do you, I beg you, get out in front and tell your story as clearly as possible so that everyone can understand exactly the truth. And you haven't done that. You haven't done, the only reason you're doing this is a favor to me, and we're talking about recovery. And I appreciate it. And this wouldn't, you wouldn't even have your best friend grill you on the truth. That would be totally inappropriate. Is there going to be a time where you expose yourself to someone and you're like, listen, I'm ready to tell the truth, and I want to tell it to someone who is going to be ruthless in trying to get the truth from me? Will you get there? Do you want to do that?
The short answer is yes. There will. I have had opportunities. I've had people ask. And I've had people, the short answer to the question is yes. There will be a time where that is the right move. Do I feel like that is right now at this moment? No. Have there been times before where I thought I have to do this? Yes. But if I really dissect what my motivation was in those times where I was like, I have to do this. People need to see. People need to hear. Look at my receipts. Look at all these answers. Look at how crazy this is. If I really look at why I was reacting like that, I have to come towards the fact that that is ego. And that is me wanting to be seen. And it's the inner child in me going, you don't understand. You don't understand the truth, and blah, blah, blah. So if I am accepting and grateful for the thorough destruction of my ego, which I am, then I can't be in a place where I'm making decisions based on ego. Because then it's a remnant of the old me that I need to let die. That guy has to die, and that death has to be thorough. Ego death, behavior death, all of those things, that has to be thorough. Will there be a time where I go, you know what? This feels right now, and this is clearly the right move. Here's what I got. Yes, but I have to make sure that that comes from the right place, or else all I'm doing is holding on to a vine as I'm swinging through the jungle, and I get a hold of a new vine, which is my new life, my new me, and I'm refusing to let go of that vine.
Right. Is there, I feel like we got off of one thing that, I was just saying that I really think that I really admire how Mel Gibson has. I know that he he is publicly shamed, and he said some crazy stuff when he was really drunk, and it's terrible what he said. But he, since then, I know a ton of people, and he has helped them when they're struggling. And I also know that you are available for people that are struggling. we have a mutual friend that you were with, and then he ended up dying from his disease, and you know, you were right there, and then we also have friends that you personally have successfully helped, and if I had them here, they would say Army Hammer saved my life. And
members are in the safe zone.
so that's something that, and just the program we're in, part of staying successful is to be of service. Is there, I know that you're not going to brag about things that you do. I'm trying to, can you talk a little bit about how important it is to be of service?
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe the most important thing for me in my
Most
life.
important is to be of service to others.
Helping others, being there for others is my way of showing gratitude and my way of
They're buying each other back. Watch it, watch
carrying
it.
forward what was done for me when I was in crisis. When I was in full-blown crisis, people showed up for me. People showed up in a way that I have never seen people show up outside of a recovery program. I don't think humans really do
I got him for you, son.
so much. But once you've hit bottom and someone holds their hand out for you and goes, grab my hand. It's right here. If you want it. I'm not going to grab your hand, but I'm going to hold.
Don't let them come up from the middle.
Grab it now. Help pull you up.
It's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. So now I'm there with my hand out. That's what I am supposed to do. It's what helps me the most. It's also what gets me out of myself and out of my own bullshit.
Yo, they're trying to come over here.
I'll call 3 people. Be like, how are you?
Right.
What's going on with you? What can I do?
They ain't got nothing else to do.
Keeps me.
They dropping behind us too.
People get it helps. It always, if you're asking someone how they're doing, you're out of your head for a few seconds, a few glorious seconds.
And by the way, you're out of your head for a few seconds, and this is one of my favorite quotes. If you're in your head, you're in enemy territory.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to take you down. Like, that's not on your side.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you've got whatever issues you've got. Like, you're going to hear some ideas in there and go, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea to just set everything on fire? And you go, yeah, well, wait, I need to call
Where? Mark him.
Remember that guy that we helped, that we showed up and he was naked and he was barking, his dog was barking? And
Yeah.
he's fine now.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is, is there a person that you look up to that has handled something similar to what you've handled? Is there a person that you look up to?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, this new...
Who do you admire in the field of recovery?
I got a gas mask, so
Or is that giving away
I'm gonna watch him.
Yeah, so this is what I would say.
that pesky anonymity?
Yeah, this is what I would say.
I want to drop some names.
Let's go. Okay, I got names.
I got you.
No,
I'm gonna watch you.
This is a very new phenomenon that we're going through right now.
Yeah. What?
Good job. Good job.
Can't say
Good
it.
job, guys. Way to go.
That whole thing.
First game of the day, victory.
Correct. I mean,
And I'm dropping jewels.
Like the blacklist.
Good job, kids. I already had a gas mask, so you would have been good. My gas mask was nice and ready.
Jobs
Better than ever.
across the board.
Right.
You know, it's like you have people who
Nice.
in corporate America who are making some gaffe while having a conversation or putting something on social media that they probably shouldn't, who are then being publicly shamed on a massive scale.
You could be a beer company.
This part of it does feel very new. And there are people that this has happened to that I look at, or even sometimes that I've been in contact with, where I look at them and I go, respect. Like, you took a shitstorm in your life and you took that shit and you turned it to manure, and now you're growing. In fact, like, if I really think about it, I would be hard pressed to find an example of someone who
Run it back,
went
run it
through
back,
something
run it back.
like this and it didn't turn them around. Like, you'd have to be a pretty particular kind of stupid to get this kind of painful lesson and not learn.